Hi, this is Scott Anderson, and welcome to 5 Steps to Eliminate Burnout at Work and at Home in 90 days or less, even if you've already tried everything. And if you've already tried everything or tried things that didn't work or only worked temporarily or backfired completely, then you are definitely in the right place, and I'm glad you're here. Who this is for. This presentation is for entrepreneurs and executives who want to break through burnout feelings of anxiety and depression so they can love their work again and connect fully with loved ones. So in the next 45 minutes, we're going to show you a lot of important information. In particular, we're going to show you how to recover from the painful paralysis of burnout and feel joy and inspiration at work and at home, even if you've tried everything and nothing has worked. We're also going to show you how to brush aside worry and negative thoughts once and for all. We're also going to show you how to no longer wake up feeling exhausted and demotivated, and instead go through every day feeling excited and on fire again, no matter how down or discouraged you may feel right now. We're going to show you how to restore new confidence and improve your relationships at work so your team works hard for you and you no longer feel like you spend your days micromanaging or putting out fires. We're going to show you how to reconnect deeply with your significant other and your children and be able to fully switch off and be present the minute you step through the front door. And we're going to show you how to implement some practical, pragmatic, easy to use tools to completely eliminate burnout so you never again feel overwhelmed, defeated, or like it's all too much. So my promise to you is that today we're going to give you 5 steps to totally eliminate depression and anxiety at work and at home in 90 days or less, even if you've already tried everything. So let me ask you, does this sound like you? Do you wake up exhausted and down every morning, even after a good night's sleep? Do you worry about how much longer you can keep pretending everything is okay before people start noticing that you're slipping? Do you feel like a fraud because you try to act confident and inspiring, but deep down you feel the complete opposite? Are you stressed out that your relationship with your significant other is at risk because you work so much and when you're home, you're distant and distracted? Do you barely have a relationship with your kids and you're worried if it doesn't change soon, they'll grow up not knowing who you are? Have you tried everything you can think of, like motivational speakers, meditation, self-help books, and leadership courses, even your doctor and medication? All of these things are great, but you still feel exhausted and stressed out. Does every day feel like Groundhog's Day, the really scary side of the Bill Murray movie, with no hope and no way out? If any of these sound like you, then I've got some really good news. None of these things are the real problems. They are just the symptoms. And chances are good that you've been treating just symptoms for a long time and not getting much, if any, results, or maybe only temporary partial results. The real problem is you haven't made the shifts, which we're going to be talking to you about today. Once you make these important shifts, you will quickly regain confidence and enthusiasm, even more than before. You'll wake up every day with energy and inspiration and look forward to getting into the office and making a difference. You'll stop feeling like an imposter and you'll be crystal clear about your purpose. You'll laugh at the negative thoughts and emotions that used to block you and quickly and automatically brush them aside. You will reconnect with your business partners, employees, and customers, and your work will take on new meaning. Your relationship with your significant other will go from distant and cold to passionate and inspiring. Thoughts or talk of divorce or separation will disappear. Quality time with children and loved ones will stop being a painful cliche. You'll finally be fully present to the people who love you and put regret and shame behind you. So a little bit about me. I'm Scott Anderson. I'm a serial entrepreneur that has run and sold 9 businesses so far to date. I am also a coach. I have coached hundreds of entrepreneurs and high-performance executives and their teams. I'm also a licensed mental health therapist, which has come in very handy when I'm working with entrepreneurs and their companies. I'm also a licensed mental health therapist, which comes in very handy when I'm coaching stressed out entrepreneurs and their companies, but offers a unique perspective, I think, on the topic of burnout. I'm also founder of At Ease USA, a PTSD therapy technology accelerator and clinic system. And we found that there are a lot of parallels between PTSD and burnout, and which have given us a new perspective in creating this program. My specialty is helping business owners and leaders break out of painful plateaus and jumpstart their businesses and their lives. And probably most important with respect to this program is that I broke through my own burnout and it's never returned. I'll talk about this in more detail in a minute, but I really do know what you're going through, having been through it myself, a really horrible episode of burnout. And I've come out the other side using exactly the techniques and ideas that we'll be sharing with you today. I discovered these 5 shifts in part to treat my own symptoms of anxiety and depression and to resolve my own burnout symptoms. I've since had the opportunity to develop this system and to use it with hundreds of other executives who also suffered from burnout and who have also made the same recovery that I've made. We've discovered that there are 5 key shifts you must make to break through burnout and recover the energy and enthusiasm you want at home and at work. I'm going to take you through all 5 of them in this session. The first shift is to embrace thoughts and feelings that are disturbing you. And it's one of the most counterintuitive and yet one of the most powerful shifts that you'll make in the Burnout Breakthrough Program. It turns out that the shedding feelings of depression and anxiety is simpler and can happen much faster than you think, even if you've wrestled with burnout for months or even years. The most common strategies, fighting thoughts and feelings and or avoiding them, don't work. In fact, research proves it makes them even worse. Once you accept, and I'm going to say actually embrace your most disturbing thoughts and feelings as just thoughts and feelings, you'll be free to do what is most important and you enjoy most whenever you want to. The second shift is, again, counterintuitive, especially for type A executives, and that is to relax and release. Paradoxically, the attempt to control, fix, get rid of, or avoid negative thoughts and emotions makes them come back even more frequently and even more painfully than before, removing any hope of ever getting some relief. Study after study confirms this. Be honest. Has fighting and struggling with burnout worked for you so far? For me and for our students in this program, this is actually what brought them to Burnout Breakthrough, that fighting and struggling with burnout is backfired or at very best has delivered momentary results, only to have the symptoms come back even more painfully than before. Rather than controlling anything, we teach a technique of relaxing and releasing difficult feelings and emotions on the spot as they come up. This system works both in the moment when you need it, but it also offers long-term permanent relief. Using the RNR technique that we teach in this course, you'll learn to shed disturbing thoughts and feelings on the spot and leave them behind permanently. Tim runs a large dental practice, which has thrived for years, but during COVID in particular, and actually a couple of years prior to this, he found that he was really getting burned out with doing the same routine day after day. As much as he is a beloved dentist and has very, very loyal customers and patients, he found that he was just really burning out and didn't have the energy that he used to have. He was also struggling with a demanding ex-wife and a teenage son who had drug and alcohol problems. When Tim came to see us, he was exhausted, anxious, and depressed, or as he said, I'm toast, which is what a lot of our clients say. I'm toast pretty much describes it. Just 5 weeks after starting working with us, Tim's depression and anxiety thoughts lifted. His practice started thriving again, and he started to feel a new joy, or actually more joy than ever, in working in his practice with his patients and with his coworkers. And even better, his relationship with his ex-wife and with his teenage son are now better than ever, not just as good as they were on his best day prior to this program, but now, as he says, they're at their best ever state. I was really flattered to receive this text from Tim just a few weeks ago. Hi, Scott. I was blessed to attend your course. It absolutely changed my life. It is the only thing that has ever worked for me. You are amazing as a teacher. I'm forever in your debt, Tim. And obviously really glad to receive this. But the thing that he said that really stuck out was, it's the only thing that has ever worked for me. And Tim, like a lot of our clients, and like me, frankly, have struggled with burnout, depression, and anxiety, not just recently, but for years and years, in some cases, decades. And so I was especially thrilled for Tim that his burnout finally did go away after decades, in his case, of anxiety and depression. I want to talk to you about using our secret weapon, our third shift, which is harnessing values. By rediscovering and harnessing your own core values, the principles you want to be remembered for, and then behaving accordingly, you stop being bullied by thoughts and feelings and start living a fulfilling, meaningful life instead of causing more problems at work and at home just by treating the symptoms. Harnessing values is not about being a good person, because I'm sure that you are a good person. But harnessing values means that we are 100% honest about who you really are and the things in life that really drive you, so that you can detach from troubling thoughts and feelings that have been pushing you around and instead use your own strongly held values as your true north. In this key shift, we take you through a detailed assessment to get you crystal clear about the life principles you want to guide all your most important goals and decisions going forward, instead of being bullied by troubling thoughts and feelings that often lead to bad decisions. So that in the attempt to feel better and just by treating symptoms, you end up creating life situations that are worse and create a negative feedback loop that just goes on and snowballs. We'll talk about that in just a second. So when you stop making bad decisions based on avoiding negative thoughts and feelings, you start doing what really matters, and peace and fulfillment return almost instantly. So does this make sense? This is the old way that most of us have tried to treat just the symptoms of burnout, of anxiety and depression. So we start out by trying to fix and avoid the thoughts themselves. And again, just finding that they come back even stronger and more painfully. Or self-help of a wide variety, either self-help books or speakers. We try sleeping more, sleeping less. A lot of people, unfortunately, turn to drugs and alcohol or food or acting out. Some people will treat the symptom of burnout by thinking it's him or her, it's my wife or my husband, and pursue marriage counseling or even divorce. Suicidal thinking at its most serious extent, of course, is the unfortunate end that some people get to with because of depression and anxiety. Treating symptoms only, bottom line, that's the old way. That just doesn't work. Spending money, blaming others, quitting jobs, selling businesses, anger and resentment, blaming others, basically. Technology and social media, getting really lost in social media. And often what we do to treat the symptoms causes irreparable harm with our family and with our business partners. Faking it, trying to fake our way through things, faking it till we make it, which we'll talk about in a second. Or isolation. So many of us just isolate, not wanting to face the problems that we have and the problems that we've made even worse through burnout. Moving house, moving to a new house, moving across town, moving to a new state or even a new country. We've heard of a million ways, old ways that people have used to try to break through their own burnout, and they just don't work. So we have a new way, which does work, and which we're excited to tell you about. And harnessing values is a key part of that. Harnessing values frees you from this vicious, destructive cycle so that you get the peace and fulfillment you've always wanted and keep it with you from now on, no matter what, by replacing all of those techniques with one simple process. We start by rediscovering core values. Then we start taking valued actions based on those values. We begin making better and better choices that result in better and better outcomes, and our mood naturally improves. And as a result of all that, we achieve permanent burnout breakthrough, not just one more temporary fix that comes back even worse the next time, but permanent burnout breakthrough. So by harnessing values, instead of fixing or avoiding negative thoughts and feelings over and over, just to have them return even worse than ever, instead, we use a system that always works every time when you need it. We stop creating more problems by fixing and avoiding with food, alcohol, spending, and other forms of acting out. And we free ourselves from the bullying thoughts and feelings that have actually made it worse and worse and worse. We stop this vicious cycle of just treating the symptoms and finally begin to address the root causes. Jill is a great example of harnessing values and of using these principles to turn her burnout around. Jill is a senior executive with an international pharmaceutical company, one of the top 5 performers in her company, in a very, very competitive field. And she was under high pressure to perform in COVID, but without being able to travel to see her key customers. This is something that a number of our clients experienced. At the same time, she was really concerned about her performance during COVID without being able to travel to see her customers. But at the same time, her last child, her daughter, was about to leave the nest and go off to college. And Jill was kind of ambivalent about that and about what an empty nest might mean. And she and her husband were also talking about retirement. Jill, in this case, is the primary breadwinner. So she was under a lot of pressure to think about retirement on the one hand, but on the other, her performance at work was really being scrutinized. So we helped Jill overcome exhaustion, overwhelm, and a fear of failing, which was really paralyzing her, not only as the primary breadwinner in her family, but also as a mom and as a wife. And instead of her fighting these ideas that she wasn't enough or that she wasn't doing a good enough job for her family, she finally began to harness her own values and to make decisions based on the things that were best for her husband, and for her daughter, and for her whole family. So Jill learned that she was making herself sick, trying to fix and avoid negative thoughts, and by living in the future. And once we got this vicious cycle corrected, she won back many, many hours of productive time each day, which helped her dramatically improve her performance and get back to the sales level that she was previous to her burnout. Within weeks of joining our course, Jill got her energy and confidence back and started performing again at the highest level of her career, not just the highest before she joined our program, but even higher. Her performance went actually up from the highest point that she had achieved prior to her burnout. And best of all, her relationship with her husband is best ever, and they are loving being empty nesters. She was really concerned that being an empty nester might not work out. She was concerned that especially in her depressed and anxious state, that it might not be a good idea to be empty nesters. But it's turned out to be a great decision, and they're really loving it. I eat my own cooking. This is a expression that our hometown hero in Omaha, Warren Buffett, uses a lot. And in his case, he's referring to investing his entire net worth in his Berkshire Hathaway company. But in my case, I eat my own cooking too. And before I shared these 5 shifts with hundreds of executives and entrepreneurs, I tested them on my own burnout feelings of depression and anxiety that had plagued me for decades, for my entire life. And I'm happy to report that my own feelings of depression and anxiety have never returned. Not only did they go away, but they've never returned. And that's an experience I'd never had before when I was just treating the symptoms. And these have been by far the most successful years of my life in business, in my marriage, with my children, and with all of my relationships. You've probably heard the expression feeling comfortable in my own skin. And that's really the way that I feel, more so than in any time in my life. Many of our clients, most of them, report that they don't just get back to their best day before they join this program, but to an even better state, to their best ever life. And this has certainly been my experience. The 4th shift is to live authentically, which is a kind of a natural outcome of harnessing your values. We've all heard the expression, fake it till you make it. The problem is that it's fake. And it's just another way of trying to fix or avoid troubling thoughts. Most of us have used fake it till you make it and developed it into a superpower. And it's made it possible to do things that a lot of people wouldn't have been able to do. And it may be a superpower that has really propelled your career in a lot of ways. But by the time you get to burnout, to the anxiety and depression of burnout, faking it till you make it is kind of a bad joke. And it's probably something that you're having a harder time to do. Even worse, it simply stops working. By the time you get to anxiety and depression and burnout, it simply stops working. The problem is your mind knows that you're faking it till you make it. And your mind will remind you from time to time that you're a fake. This is where thoughts of imposter syndrome and other fraudulent type feelings come in that just compound the feeling of being burned out. And anxiety and depression will ultimately return unless there's a permanent change in the way that you live, not just the way that you think about the way you live, but the way you actually live. And that's what living authentically is all about. Gutting it out, let's face it, is no way to live. Even if it worked, it's no way to live. So living authentically is the key to breaking through burnout, enjoying every moment as it is, and staying that way from now on. By realigning with your core values and making decisions that will build you your dream life, instead of decisions based on fixing or avoiding thoughts and feelings or on pleasing other people, you automatically begin living authentically and powerfully, and your life starts taking off again. Dan is one of my favorite people and a great example of this living authentically principle. Dan built a really successful construction firm, actually a couple of them, both a home building and commercial building company and a commercial roofing company. And he built them from scratch in just a few years. And just when he should have been cashing in on a success, Dan secretly started feeling bored and frustrated. And that ended up resulting in outbursts with his employees and ultimately outbursts with his wife and with his children. And he really wondered what was going on. He couldn't understand why at this moment, kind of a pinnacle of his success, he was really suffering and hurting other people in the process. So using our values alignment process, which is part of the harnessing values shift, Dan is a great example of both harnessing values and living authentically. Using our values alignment process, which is part of our harnessing values shift, Dan rediscovered his why, the reason that he got into business in the first place, and the opportunity that he wanted to create not only for his team, but the life he wanted to build for him and for his family. Within the first 3 weeks of working with us, Dan started reorganizing his company so he could serve more as a visionary, which is what he had always intended to do, promoting key team members to run daily operations. And as a result, he was able to claw back lots of time that he could refocus on his family, on his children, and on his wife, and get back to the actual dream life that he had intended from the very beginning. But like so many of us, he got caught up in the depression and anxiety of burnout and really lost track of where he wanted to go. And he had been treating the symptoms of burnout in such a way that his dream life had been turning into a nightmare. But in a relatively short amount of time, Dan turned all of this around and is now leading what he would call his best life ever. Living authentically brings you back to life and helps you succeed at the highest level you've ever experienced in all areas of your life. The fifth shift is to invest in mentoring. And everyone should have a mentor. You've probably had several in your career and know the power of having a mentor in your corner. Mentoring offers two key benefits. First, new ideas, and secondly, accountability. In fact, there are probably new ideas in your head right now that wouldn't be there if you hadn't made time for this webinar. But new ideas by themselves are not enough. So here's how mentoring works. First of all, you do get new ideas, which help change your mindset and give you beliefs about what's possible and changes the quality of your ideas, which in itself is critically important. But without the changing your actions in line with these new ideas, changing what you actually do, there can't be any results. So the power of mentoring is that combining the new ideas with the accountability to someone who can help you make sure you take the actions. And the results show up in your career, in your relationships, in your happiness generally. To change results, we need to change mindset and action. Changing mindset by itself is not enough. And this program certainly provides some important information and new ways of looking at things. But what's more important is that Burnout Breakthrough provides transformation. So the question is, how happy are you in your career? How solid are your relationships? And how much would you pay to have a permanent solution? The power of mentoring is that you don't have to go it alone. The investment in a mentor pays for itself many, many times over and allows you to get where you want to go faster and better than you could ever do on your own. So the fifth shift is to find the best mentor who has done what you want to do and follow in their footsteps. So today I promised 6 big promises. Number 1, I promised that we would show you how to recover from the painful paralysis of burnout and feel joy and inspiration at work and at home, even if you've tried everything and nothing has worked. We promised that we would show you how to brush aside worry and negative thoughts once and for all. We showed you how to no longer wake up feeling exhausted and demotivated, and instead go through every day feeling excited and on fire again, no matter how down or discouraged you may feel right now. We showed you how to restore new confidence and improve your relationships at work, so your team works hard for you and you no longer feel like you spend your days micromanaging or putting out fires. We showed you how to reconnect deeply with your significant other and your children and be able to fully switch off and be present the minute you step through the front door. And finally, we showed you how to implement easy to use tools to completely eliminate burnout so you never again feel overwhelmed, defeated, or like it's all too much. Here's what you need to win, to break through burnout once and for all. Number one, as counterintuitive as it sounds, you need to embrace the negative thoughts and feelings that you've been having. And we show you exactly how to do that in this program. The second shift is to relax and release on the spot. And our R&R technique shows you exactly how to do that. The third shift is to harness your values and to have your most important values drive your life instead of being bullied by negative thoughts and emotions. The fourth shift is to live authentically, to use the values that you've discovered in the third shift and to put them into practice in every area of your life. And the fifth shift is to invest in mentoring, to not go it alone. These 5 shifts alone are enough to break through burnout and propel you to your best life possible at work and at home. Now you have a really important choice. You can choose to continue to go it alone. You can choose to continue fighting with negative thoughts and feelings or trying to avoid them, only to have them come back worse than ever before. You can choose to just treat the symptoms and often cause more trouble than you had to begin with by choosing solutions to symptoms that are only temporary and usually have negative outcomes. You can continue to pretend that things are going to get better, or you can choose to let us help you. My team and I have set aside some time in the next 48 hours to speak to you personally about how you can apply these ideas at work and at home starting today. Whatever your biggest challenges are, we've seen them all and we know how to overcome them. So in this session, we will work with you to craft a step-by-step game plan to achieve your business and relationship goals, build your dream life, and break through burnout once and for all. The cost is zero. This 45-minute deep dive call is absolutely free, but this call isn't for everyone. Here's who this call is for. Number one, you must have big goals for work, home, community, legacy, every aspect of your life. You must have big goals. Secondly, you must be willing to try a new approach. Let's face it, the old one isn't working anyway. And third, you must be willing to do the work. This program is not complex, but it does require hard work, and you must be willing to do it to get the results that we promise. If that's you, we'd love it if you would book a session right now. So why are we offering these breakthrough sessions? We do it because we love giving back and helping business people achieve their goals. And frankly, I'm so grateful to have been able to break through my own burnout. That's the least I can do to share these ideas with people that are also suffering. Plus, we also know that you might want our help to transform your life at work and at home. If so, we can discuss it and see if it's a good fit for both of us. If not, that's fine too. So be sure to sign up right now. Appointments are limited, and we want to be sure that you get a chance to schedule your session if you'd like to take advantage of this. Go to burnoutbreakthrough.com/apply, burnoutbreakthrough.com/apply, and sign up right away. Thanks for your attention. We wish you all the best.